Hello and welcome, live from Road Atlanta, round 3 of the 2014 Virtual Carrera Cup.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
So, you are watching round 3 of the Virtual Carrera Cup from Road Atlanta. I am John Munro, your commentator today, and alongside me is Danny Asbury. How are you today, Danny?
Doing good, John. Obviously, we're coming off the back of round 2 at Lebanon, and today we're going to go into, like you're seeing on our calendar, Road Atlanta. I'm very excited for this round here today, John. I mean, we very rarely see this track get played in the TPS. Actually, you know what? I think this might be the first ever time we've done this track here in the TPS. Obviously, me being American and knowing this track pretty well, I'm very much so looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting track. I mean, I used to race here on iRacing, and I've also done a couple of commentaries over there, and it always creates, incredible racing, especially with that final chicane in the last sector, and the very difficult, notorious first sector with all the sweeping corners down the hill. Unfortunately, we don't have too much pre-race information for you, as we had a few problems setting up the broadcast, so we're starting a little bit late. We are actually about to jump into qualifying, but just very quickly before we do, why don't Danny take us over the next events coming up in the TouringProSeries.
Next up here we have VMC at Willow Park. Remember, that's going to be the 4th round of the championship of a highly entertaining championship between Chris Butcher, Robert Wiesenmuller, and Eric Strong. I guess Peter Dweeber still has an outside chance of that one. Remember, that's coming up a few Tuesdays from now. Next up, after that, we have VTM. Virtual Touring Masters. We just finished the 3rd round of the championship just at Cleveland this past week on Wednesday. The next round from that one's going to be Hockenheim, the older version of Hockenheim, obviously, not the newer F1 version. So expect very high speed, a very high speed contest around that venue. So that's going to be coming up a few Wednesdays from now. Remember, after this race today, we're going to have a nice Christmas break. So certainly you guys you audience out there can catch your breath before kind of the next TPS broadcast. But let's actually talk about the standings, John, a little bit before we get into quali here. And we'll have to be very quick about this because obviously quali is just starting now. So we can pull up here the championship standings. You're seeing Diogo Silva there is leading so far the crew after 2 rounds of action. Chris Butcher in 2nd with Eric Strong in 3rd. Unfortunately, John, it seems like we have lost Strana for this event. Obviously, I think he posted on the absence report, so he is out today, John.
Yeah, it's a massive shame because he was, of course, only 9 points behind Diego Silva in the championship, sitting 3rd. So it's real gutting for him, and he's probably, got no hopes of the championship anymore. So that's a shame for the Ice Cold driver. He is followed in 4th place in the championship by Tim Heinemann, who won very convincingly last time out at Lebanon. And 5th position is Marius Gollenbeck, followed by Jesper Tolberg, who's had, you have to say, a slightly troubled first couple of events. But we better jump into the action as soon as possible because, as you can see, qualifying has already begun. So we'll just bring that up for you now. And you can see the man who was quickest in practice is actually Marius Gollenbeck. And he, of course, showed good pace at Lebanon, picked up a 2nd in race 1, and led a few laps in the race 2, but he didn't quite have the pace to match his teammate Tim Heinemann, who you can see is 2nd. So do you think he'll be able to do it today, Danny, or do you think Tim's still going to have the measure on him?
Usually when Gollenbeck leads after practice, we saw this during round 1 at Monza. Usually he is the guy. That's usually how Spade works. And the guy who leads coming out of practice is going to be the guy to win the quali session here. As Gollenbeck, I believe, is going through turn 6. Actually, one of the tricky overtaking. You actually pull overtakes around that corner during the race. I mean, for a driver who has a very good run coming out the S's there. So he just went through turn 7, coming up here to turn 8. I'm sorry, I completely messed myself up with the turns that are on here. Actually, no, the 2 kinks through this long straight are considered turn 8 and turn 9 before we get going here into turn 10. This is obviously the obvious overtaking place on the track to do that, as he goes through turn, these are classified turn A and then turn AB there, as he's going to finish the lap off here, going through both 11 and 12 to get 21.2, John, and he's just instantly beat by his teammate Tim Hyman. So hey, maybe Hyman is the guy that has the quicker car here for Spade Racing, John.
Yeah, I think don't read too much into those lap times. Of course, you can't read too much into the practice as well, and because it's not to say that Golombek has been quicker than Tim all week, because Tim actually does have the fastest lap on the server. But yeah, these qualifying laps I think are just provisional. I mean, 121.2 is definitely not a bad lap, but it's certainly not enough to get you right up there on the grid, so they will definitely improve. Tim Heinemann on a 120.7, that's a very competitive lap. It's quite a long way off the best they've done in practice, but that's no surprise, because of course you have unlimited amount of laps in practice in perfect racing conditions. You know, if you want, you get a draft from your teammate, you can have a draft from your teammate, etc, etc. Whereas in the actual qualifying session, you've got the added pressures of the fact that you've got a time limit. You know, you've only got a certain amount of laps, and you've also got loads of other cars to navigate your way around and find space. So it's definitely added pressure in qualifying. So don't expect, you know, a time like a 20.2, which we saw from Tim in practice, but I would expect the pole position time to be near about a 20.5 or maybe a 20.4. Let's wait and see. We should also have a look at some of the other drivers that are up there. Eric Tveit in third on a 121.1. He's been very quick, Danny, so far in practice. On live racers, he was down to a 20.4, I believe, which was a very incredible lap, and he's showing real promise here. Let's just hope he doesn't disconnect.
You know, I talked to Tveit last night about his pace that I saw from the week of testing, and he was very confident with me. He told me straightforward, he said, Danny, if I'm going to win a race this whole season, it's going to be the day here at Road Atlanta. So we're talking about a driver who has a tremendous amount of confidence going into this race. Chris Hack, we just saw that on fifth position. Sasha Glatter, you're seeing up in third, one of the Spade drivers. And Talbot actually just overtakes Glatter for third position. These are drivers, I mean, you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 Spade. And then we get to fight at Ice Cold, and then Core Racing here with Chris Hack. And John, Chris has been very good so far in this championship. A driver who's Chris has always made his name kind of staying within the top 10, showing the pace needed to do things like that. Hasn't never really been a guy that can challenge for podiums and get wins yet, but he's a driver who's consistently developing, and I've liked what I've seen so far from him in this championship. Meanwhile, People Rodriguez goes to 7th, and if we can just jump on board very quickly with People, I actually gave people a fair bit of trouble on our last broadcast at Lebanon. I said once he got demoted there to Division 2, I said it was going to be a while before we saw him back in Division 1, but already People Rodriguez back in Division 1 and back to help out his teammate Diogo Silva. As Sasha Glatter, John, it's looking like he's on a lap right now as he goes quickest through Sector 1.
Yep, sorry, just to jump back to there, this Sasha Glatter for Spade Racing, but you were just speaking about Chris Hack. I spent quite a bit of time with him before this race, just in the team speak, talking about what to expect from this event. And Chris is looking really good. I mean, he feels like he doesn't have, the ultimate pace like the 20.4s or, these kind of times that the Spade guys have got. But he did manage a 20.8 or 20.9, I believe, in testing. And he says he is kind of, he's feeling optimistic, but not, he doesn't feel like he can challenge for a race win or anything. And his top 10 is still a target. But it's great to see him back up there. The first time since probably, you could say Tom Onslow Cole, but definitely VCS3. It's the first time in the TouringProSeries that he's been right up there in the championship. As Sasha Glatter there in 4th comes around the final corner. Let's see what he can do in this lap. He goes up to 2nd there on a 20.7, so that's a very good lap. Also just popping up there, Mate Orban into 5th position on a 121.1, so that's a great lap from Mate Orban. And another man who's been impressing this season. And another, of course, has to be Diogo Silva, who's our championship leader for GT Competizione, currently sitting in 7th, and he has been the most consistent man throughout the season. Hasn't shown that he's got the pace to challenge, for the race wins with the Spade guys, but he's clearly racking up the points at the moment, Danny, on top of the championship. And just very quickly, Joko Gorenk is purple, so let's follow him for a few minutes here.
Yeah, I believe Joko Gorenc was, I think he was ranked within maybe that 15 to 20 range on live races in the week of testing, so he's going to be very happy to sit so far 13th with about 3 minutes and change on the board of this session. Let's see how he finishes up this final sector going through turn 12, and he goes 4th!
Oh, great lap!
Tremendous lap for Joko Gorenc there as he goes right inside on that 2nd row provisionally with not too much time remaining on this session here, John. So that kind of breaks up the Spade dominance at the front. So now we see another Core Racing driver right there inside the top 10 with Chris Hack.
Yeah, and that means that they've each got backing up. But look at Gollenbeck through the first sector, sorry. He's
Wow.
2.5 tenths up on Tim Heinemann's lap. Maybe Tim had a poor first sector, I'm not quite sure. I just caught on the bottom of my corner of my eye Florian Vojta, who's popped up to 15th after some problems earlier, so that's really good to see. But yeah, Marius Gollenbeck, a stunning sector 1. He's coming across the back straight now. Let's just jump on board with him. On top of the roof cam, on top of these V6 flat, I can't remember what the actual definition of the mod is, because of course we can't call them Porsches. And Marius is still up by 1.5 through sector 2, heading into the final chicane. This is probably going to be the main opportunity for overtaking. And he now exits that one just now, heading over under the bridge and down a little crest. It's completely flat out, this corner called the dip. And now he's going to head over the finish line. Let's see what time he can get. Eric Tvite's jumped up to pole. He's just been beaten by Marius Gollenbeck. So Gollenbeck on a 120.4. Tim Heinemann goes to second on a 120.6, but Tvite from nowhere jumps up to third on a 20.6 as well. So that's very competitive from the Ice Cold guys, but still the Spade guys dominate.
Yeah, that was a flurry of action we saw at the front. Tvite blips, Heinemann goes quicker, Gollenbeck beats all of them with that 20.4 like you predicted, John. I'm not sure if we're going to see, like you said, that 20.2 that was the optimal pace from the week of testing, but so far that's what Heinemann's going to have to do if he wants to beat his teammate Gollenbeck. Silva goes even quicker. He's at 7th. I was tracking him earlier in the session. He was down in 17th, so he's really coming up with the magic when he needs to. Chris Butcher, second place man in the championship, down in 11th, was around, I believe, 18th for the majority of the session, but now is finding his legs into 11th. He's still going to need to do quicker than that. I know Chris could do a 20.8 on live races, so far only a 21.3, so he maybe needs to find hook up with one of his THR teammates to get in the draft down this long straightaway, get something out that THR machine, because listen, there are no THR cars inside the top 10. That is something you rarely ever see within the TPS, so certainly Chris Butcher's going to have to lead this team, and these guys got to dig down deep to get any type of results. So far, Spade, Core, GT Competizione, these guys are throwing down the gauntlet so far. We'll see what Chris Butcher can do as he goes through the final corner. 5th position. There is a quality lap from Chris Butcher. Goes 6th. Actually bumped down to 6th position there with a 20.9. So very well done from your second place man in the championship.
Yep, and Jesper Tolberg's just gone up to 6th, so he's really struggling. Of course, the most decorated driver in the TouringProSeries history, recently moved from THR to join Spade Racing, and he's 1 place ahead of Chris Butcher at the moment. So it's definitely one of the guys that THR boys will be wanting to beat, because of course they want to prove that they're not just they weren't just a one-man team, and they can do it without Jesper. And of course they've already proved that across the board. But still it'll be a bit of honour required there for THR. So Chris will be aiming to get ahead of Jesper, and that's never an easy challenge, as we know. But yeah, that's the way it sits at the moment. We've got Spade Racing 1, 2, 3 with Marius Gollenbeck on pole, with just as the clock ticks just about to 0, and these guys will have to finish the lap they're on. Heinemann's purple in sector 2, so we will go on board with him. This could be a pole position lap from the man who's been quickest throughout live racers and the practice all week. He was also dominating at Lebanon last time out, took a double win, and he at the moment is looking like the man to beat in this championship. He's going to cross the line. Let's see what time he's going to do here. And it's a 120.363, wow. And that has definitely put the gauntlet down. The first man into the .3s in this qualifying session, only a 10th off his best throughout the practice, and Tim Heinemann takes the pole position away from his teammate Marius Gollenbeck. Sasha Glatter is 3rd with Tvite in 4th, and Chris Hack still remains in the top 5.
So I mean that was the thing. It was either going to be Heinemann or Gollenbeck. Those are the 2 guys I think had the realistic chance at pole position. It turns out it is Heinemann at the last. Absolutely saves his best lap for the dying breath of his qualifying session. So very well done. Diogo Silva goes 6th. So Silva continues to try to do whatever he can to scrap in the championship. That was a big lap to get him in front of Chris Butcher, in front of Tallberg, and gives him at least an outside chance to perhaps go after that podium position. Because even though we're seeing Sasha Glatter down in a 3rd position, as we're riding on board here with Tvite, he is going to finish his final quality lap. Not really sure where he sits with this one, but he will not have another chance. He's about 3/10 down on Heinemann. That'll help him improve, I think, slightly. He's still going to need to do something magical through this 3rd session if he wants to get in front of Glatter or even challenge Gollenbeck. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to challenge Gollenbeck back though, but we'll see what he comes up with through the final sector. He cannot improve.
He did improve, sorry, but not in your positions, yeah.
Yeah, just by a small fraction there, but still stays fourth behind Sasha Glatter. And just to finish my point about Glatter, even though Glatter is looking extremely quick this week, he's yet to score a single point in the championship. I was on the grid for Monza. Don't think he was here at Lebanon. And now, does he have the consistency to kind of stay within that podium position when you have drivers like Tveit, Silva, and Talbot with Butcher also lurking inside that top 10? It's going to be interesting to see, John.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly exciting, and we're just going to warm up here, so before we take you through the grid, we'll go for a very quick break and be back here with live action from the first race at Road Atlanta, so we'll be back very shortly.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
And we are back here live at Road Atlanta, and Danny is going to take you through the grid in just a second. But a dominant session by Spade Racing, and they definitely look the favourites going into race one. So why don't you take us through the grid for the first race, Danny?
Yeah, Tim Hyman, Spade's #1 driver, sits on pole position with that 20.3. Following him is his teammate Marius Gullenbeck. These guys both sit 4th and 5th in the championship. Sasha Glatter, yet to score a point so far this season, is in 3rd position with Eric Tveit for Ice Cold Racing in 4th. Chris Hack really rounds out a strong core racing effort we're seeing today in 5th position. Diogo Silva with G2 Competizione in 6th. Jasper Talbert, the final Spade Racing driver on the grid today, in 7th. Chris Butcher in 8th for THR. Yoko Gorge for Core Racing, all there in 9th position with Mate Orban in 10th. Orban, remember, was incredibly quick in pre-quali. We've yet to really see Orban really show that premier pace like he did in pre-quali for Optimum Sim Racing, but so far has done very well to get 10th. Boyd Bryson for Core Racing, another Core driver in 11th. Sergio Jr. for Ghost Speed was actually one of the top 10 quickest guys in live races, but there he is in 12th position. Emil Solberg, the second Ice Cold driver here today without any Eric Strana, in 13th position. Pipo Rodriguez returns Division 1 and does very well to get 14th. Florian Voita had a lot of issues leading up to this event. Wasn't sure if he was able to race. Had some, I think, connection problems, but there in 15th position. Everyone's happy to see that. 16th position, I'm not exactly sure who that is. Let me see if I can check. It's actually, I believe it's Kenneth Yerman there. Kenneth's obviously a THR driver.
Don't think it's Kenneth, but I think it's the person who qualified ahead of Kenneth.
You're
I'm
right.
not sure who
Kenneth
that
is there in 17th. You're right, John. So Thomas Erzin for Core Racing in 18th position. Anders Nilsson for Optimum Sim Racing in 19th. Kevin Siggy, coming up from Division 2 for Positive Sim Racing, is there in 12th position. I mean, Positive Sim Racing have made lots of steps to kind of spread their brands throughout different branches of sim racing, and now they are here within the TPS, so that's good to see. 21 is Fabio Asunciao for Ghost Speed, the second Ghost Speed driver, in 21st, with Miguel Cordoso in 22nd. We have Old Marius Mirabal, or rather Santiago Nizafar, the next Positive Sim Racing driver, who actually was with us at Lebanon in 23rd. Lee Palmer for Ice Cold in 24th. Old Marius Mirabal for It Gets Better Racing in 25th. David Yunt, another THR driver, 26th. Davey Vanderveen, coming up from Division 2 for Aerostream, 27th. Thomas Metazowski for THR is going to round out our grid of 28 drivers, John. So, looks to be a very exciting race. I know that quality session was a fair bit interesting. Obviously, Spade get the first 3 spots, but certainly I think we're going to have quite a race on our hands here today.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see the inter-team squabble between, you know, the front 3 guys. Sasha maybe looks a couple of tenths off Marius and Tim, and Marius and Tim have led the team so far this season. I'm a bit surprised Talberg's not done slightly more competitively than 7th, but he's definitely going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to be near his teammates. Just to confirm, the man who was disappearing in the qualifying session that qualified 16th was Heinz Petzold. and he should be starting the race in 16th, so that's all good. But these cars are gridding up here, and we're going to go to a formation lap, and then we'll be on with the race. So your prediction for the race, Danny, do you think Tim's got this one in the bag, or do you think there could be a challenger to him? What's your prediction for this one?
Now, I guess I kind of made a living at letting and going against Tim Heineman. I thought Tauber was going to win one of those races, and Tim Heineman completely turned me into a fool. He was just completely on another level compared to the rest of the field. This time around, I do think he is the strongest driver, pace-wise, but I do really think Marius Gollenbeck has a chance at this thing. These guys actually fought very fairly with one another for the lead at Lebanon. Not so sure that Gollenbeck can actually get the job done here. I think Heineman is going to take the race win with Gollenbeck, giving him a fair bit of chase. I do not have too much confidence in Sasha Glad at third position. I'd much favor Tveit or maybe not the Silva to get back on that podium rather than I do Sasha Glad. But John, how are you seeing this race?
Yeah, I'm struggling to disagree with that, to be honest. I said, you know, you'll have heard so much praise from me towards Tim Heineman in the last one, you know, questioning whether he could be the next alien of the Touring Pro Series, which you have to say we have only had one or two in the past. And it's definitely a difficult, more than a difficult thing to be, and Tim Heineman could be that man. And if he can continue his form from Lebanon in terms of race pace, then he's definitely looking like the favourite, as Danny said. He quickest all week in practice, quickest in qualifying, and he showed it last time out his consistency, and he's obviously good on tyres, or else he would have dropped back a bit more last time. Also showed his racecraft in getting past Marius Gollenbeck, so you can't really argue against him. But in the Touring Pro Series, anything can happen, and almost always does, so it's very difficult to predict, but he's got to be the favourite going into this one. And of course, Spade guys will be working together to maintain the top three. Definitely need to be wary of Erik Tveit for Ice Cold in 4th position. He was stunning throughout practice, very quick in qualifying, and maybe doesn't have the pace of Tim, but is definitely a good racer, and will give it his all, as we know. Let's just hope for no disconnections. And I've actually forgotten to, I was meant to put a commentator's curse on every single driver apart from Chris Hack, because I did say I'd do that last time, and I was talking to Chris about this. So yeah, the front four are all going to have amazing races and finish top 4, and Chris is going to come last, so that should help him a bit.
There you go, John. You heard it, audience, straight from John's mouth. Intended commentator's curse. That's the first time I've heard of that. We're right on board here with Diogo Silva, obviously starting 6th place. Has done extremely well, I think, to get 3 podium positions so far out of 4 races. So you really can't count him out to get that, get inside that top 3 here today. Even though Chris Hack is right in front of him, Jasper Thalberg directly behind, I do think Diogo Silva has a chance to really kind of maybe. It's going to be hard for him to extend his championship over. Whoa, yeah, what is this?
Heineman overran his pit. I think he was not expecting it to be so far back, because of course the start-finish line is so far back. He's trying not to get disqualified by reversing down the track, so let's hope he's all okay there. And I think he should be, unless his car disappears. So that's a really strange start for Tim. Obviously wasn't expecting it and hadn't practiced his start, so this is going to be interesting to see if he can keep his composure. But we will ride on board with him for the start here, so you can see the lights as the cars at the back of the grid line up in position. We are about to go here. 2 lights on, 3, 4. We're waiting for the lights to go out, and we are underway here. It's a good start from Heineman by the looks of things, and we're just going to look over the back of his car. You can see the cars line up. Tveit's made a stunning start there, Danny, gone up to 3rd position, but he's been challenged a lot here, Heineman, by Gollenbeck. It's Heineman, sorry, that's managed to stay around the outside. Gollenbeck's going to be side by side into turn 2, but Heineman does seem to have the advantage at the moment. Tveit could even sneak his way into 2nd here. There's contact behind. Tveit's going to be on the grass. Just manages to avoid the anti-cut. He's going to rejoin, and I think he might drop back to 4th, which he has done. So that was a bit of a wasted good start from Erik Tveit there, and a wasted opportunity to get mixed up with the top guys. But it is, as we started, with Tim Heineman leading the pack from Marius Gollenbeck and Sasha Glatter in 3rd, with Tveit in 4th.
Yeah, very undisciplined move from Tveit. A brilliant start by Ice Cold Racing leader, but unfortunately he got around Glatter, what he needed to do there, but then tried to go also around Gollenbeck. I know he had to run on Gollenbeck, but at the same time, if he just slots that car right in behind Gollenbeck, he's in 3rd position. Now he's got to find a way to get this move done around Glatter. He's going to have a run up here to turn 10. Already has the toe. Can he put that thing on the inside? He does. Can he now get the overlap? I think he's got this one made here, John. If he can just stick to braking zone, Tveit is going to be in the 3rd place. Let's see if Glatter can hold him around the outside. No, Tveit's got that move booked. So, okay, Tveit really kind of recovers from the slight lapse of judgment at the start of that thing. But Marius Gollenbeck, as we're now riding on board with our new leader, has overtaken Tim Heineman for the lead.
Yeah, I apologise for jumping away from that overtake. I just noticed that the front two guys were also side by side, and Golombek did make the move stick. So that's 2 successful moves into the chicane, as we talked about, which will be the #1 overtaking spot as they head now through this first sector. Look at all these sweepers. You've got the left-hander at the start into a sharper right-hander. This is almost flat-out left-hander, a very difficult right-hander where you got back up to 5th gear, and then you're switching down to 3rd here. There's another set of left and right, and through this 3rd gear left-hander, it's very easy to roll or hit anti-cuts here. But these spade guys are so well practiced.
Glatter is getting mugged down in 6th position, been overtaken by Silva and Hack, now being challenged from Chris Butcher, but it looks like Glatter's going to try and make a move on Chris Hack running outside.
He's going to run right, though.
Come off. And now Chris Butcher's right there with Tallberg. I mean, Butcher's gotten around Tallberg. Like I said, Silva up in the 4th position, and Gladys, just that car. I mean, I've always questioned Gladys' race pace, and so far, he is not looking good at all to start this event here, John. He's absolutely under siege with only 2 laps in.
Yeah, definitely, and he's definitely under a lot of pressure, and he seems to be dropping like a stone. Maybe his racecraft isn't up to par. Maybe he just had a bit of a shaky start. Who knows? But look, he's making another mistake there. He's across the grass. I don't think there was contact, and that's going to put him under serious pressure from Butcher here. If we can ride on board with the Englishman, heading down the hill now through the final corner, and I don't think he's going to be able to capitalise, because that last corner, there's no way around the car in front of you, and of course that levels out the speed difference between the two. So they remain as they are, with Glatter in 6th, looking very, very scrappy indeed. And Chris Butcher is in 7th, but still keeps the pressure on him. Well, let's ride on board with them through this first sector, just so you can see one final time the the difficulty of these corners, the amount of lefts and rights you can see there. So I think there's maybe 5 or 6 different changes of direction. It's such a difficult sector to get right. The car's loose at so many different points, but Chris manages to keep it nice and tidy there. As you can see at the top, Emil Solberg's been in the pit lane, and I think Munro also had a bit of trouble at the start. So those 2 guys are at the back of the field, but that was on board with Chris Butcher, who is our top THR driver. And the 2, I was about to say 2, but there's actually 3 guys that are splitting the spade men at the moment, because you've got Chris Hack up in 5th position, doing a stunning job for Core Racing, and he'll be looking for a good result. He was just looking for a top 10, as I said, but I think he would be, he'd be definitely annoyed if he got knocked off his 5th position here, because he's looking very quick indeed at the start of this race. Diogo Silva, our championship leader, has had a great start to the race, it has to be said, for GT Competizione. Let's see if he can maintain it. Sorry, just to cut back there, as Chris Butcher does make the move on Sasha Glatter and pushes the man further down the field again, but Sasha's right on the back of him coming through here, through the dipper. They're going around the right-hander at the end of the lap. Oh, and Butcher's going to run wide, he gets a bit sideways. This is a great battle going on for 6th position, very aggressive, but I think they've managed to keep it reasonably clean so far, and Butcher does make the move stick. Let's see if he can hold it all the way through here. They both run very wide, and there's another car, Jesper Tallberg, looking on the inside. He's definitely having a disappointing start down in 8th position, and he'll be, yeah, he was looking very racy there. It looked like he might be able to take the 2 of them down the inside, but didn't quite make it stick. But yeah, stunning battling, as we can see down here on the field. Chris Hack in 5th position, almost getting up on 2 wheels there, putting serious pressure on our championship leader Diogo Silva. Eric Tveit is broken away into 3rd place, but speaking of breaking away, is Golombek and Heinemann out in front.
Yeah, you're seeing after Golombek made that move, he can't quite get away from Heinemann. I believe this happened at some point during race 2 at Lettinen, and eventually, actually no, I think Golombek got around Heinemann early, then he just couldn't keep Heinemann behind him for that long, and I think that might be the case here today. You're just seeing that Heinemann's car is just a bit quicker than his teammate Golombek. Tveit is holding on to the back of this duo here, but you've got to assume, John, that once Heinemann gets around his teammate, if that happens, then Tveit is, I mean, he'll just be able to check out from Tveit. I think the only thing keeping Tveit in this battle is that Golombek is leading for spade racing, so maybe that's something they'll look at. But there, Golombek, just as I say, that goes the quickest of any time we've seen so far during the race at a 20.7. Just pointing out, just to comment on that move Butcher made on Glatter, I think he had to make that move come off when he did, because obviously he doesn't want a Hack and then Silver to check out for him, because I do think right now it looks like there's an absolute anchor pulling Glatter toward the back part of this top 10. So that was a move that had to come off for your championship runner-up, as it were, right now. Chris Butcher, but Silva up in the 4th position. Meanwhile, obviously, we're still on board with the spade racing duo of Golombek and Heinemann. And it is worth pointing out to our viewers here that these guys aren't actually, they're with both spade racing, but they're not direct teammates. Heinemann's teammate is Jesper Tallberg, and that duo, they lead the championship. I believe Golombek is paired with Glatter, or actually, I'm not even sure if he is paired with Glatter. So that is something that maybe Golombek is actually out there by himself. I'm not sure who his direct teammate is. I'm trying to actually look that up here for your viewers, but
it's Mark Fangman who's meant to be his teammate, but he hasn't been here at all.
Yes, that's an added dynamic that, I mean, obviously Golombek is leading this team. He wants Spade Racing to win the team's championship. So far, Spade Racing 2, which is obviously comprised of Hyman and Tallberg, lead the championship. So that's something that could come into play later on in this event.
Yeah, definitely. There was another fastest lap there from Golombek, as we go back to him. So maybe it's not Heinemann who's looking on top at the moment. Maybe Golombek is showing that he wants to win this race. Obviously, he wants to win this race, but it's showing that he can win this race, because we were all saying it was, you know, it's definitely looking like Heinemann, which is probably the opposite of what we were saying at Lebanon. You know, I remember it was Golombek that might have been favourite there, but Heinemann, who was clearly the fastest throughout the practice and qualifying, is being thoroughly beaten here by Marius Golombek. Of course, he's still in range with him, but Golombek's been the man setting the lap times, even with the pressure and the slipstream being given to Heinemann. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Let's see if the tyre wear plays a part, or maybe Heinemann's just, you know, taking it easy, making sure he has no mistakes and saving his tyres for the end, because there's no point pushing his teammate this early on. But yeah, it's a very interesting one indeed. Golombek will be delighted with how this race is going. Tvite's actually not been dropping too much time. He's only 1.7 seconds off these guys, but I don't think that will sustain. I do think he will drop back a bit. And that's of course nothing against Tvite, it's just the Spade guys are just been so dominant and their race pace is so good. There's nothing anyone else, I'm afraid, can do about it. So you've got Eric Tvite in third there.
What he's obviously going to be hoping for is that these Spade Racing drivers go at one another. Because right now, you're right, John. Looks like Golombek is the quicker of the two drivers. Only about 2/10 in that gap, though. But Tvite's certainly going to hope those guys fight with one another. Now we are just taking a ride through the grid. Butcher's still holding. Actually, no, Glad has gone around Chris Butcher, so I'm not sure exactly. Maybe Glad has now got his footing here, because it looks like now he's even pulled away from both Butcher and Tallberg. Remember, Butcher's second place in the championship with Jasper Tallberg right in behind him in 7th position. We're going to see, I think, in 9th, we have Yoko Goranch there, who, for Core Racing, put up a very tremendous lap time to get himself inside that top 10. So far, he's doing well to hold on to that position with Sergio Jr. And John, you know, talking to some of the drivers about Jr. going after his very surprising top 5, I believe, at Lebanon, people really are buying the stock, so to speak, on Junior. They really feel that this is a guy who can go. There was even people think he could challenge for the win today. That's how much people believe in Sergio Jr., so to speak. So, I mean, it's certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on as the championship progresses to see if this driver of Ghost Speed continues to develop as well. Boyd Bryson is going to be in behind him for Core Racing in 11th. Boyd's doing tremendously well to stay within that top, stay within the talks at top 10. I believe he's 8th overall in the championship. Fabio Sancal, the other Ghost Speed driver, there in 12th position with Matej Orban. Remember, Orban started 10th, fell back to 14th at one point, made an overtake on Kenneth Yerman, and now get inside, get that 13th position. Kenneth Yerman, obviously another THR driver, there in 14th position with Kevin Siggy. Remember Siggy, this is the first we've seen of him coming up from Division 2. So far doing very well to be inside that top 15, John.
Yeah, definitely showing an impressive amount of pace here. You know, anywhere inside the top 20 in Division 1 is considered to be very competitive and very difficult to do. So, great job so far by Kevin. With Florian Vojta in 16th, he'll just be happy to have made the start, let alone be running inside the top 20. So it's a good showing from him. And just as I say that, he gets very sideways there, so I almost put the curse on him. And even though he got sideways, he's still managing to make a move around the outside of Siggy. So we jump on board with him here. He's got a little bit of a slipstream from Yerman. Let's see if we can make it through. This guy, of course, Florian Vojta, being brought over by Florian Strauss from the GT Academy in Germany, where he impressed the Gran Turismo 5, I believe, simulation. So he's really transforming well over to rFactor, running a strong 16th here, and clearly having a lot of fun with it. Thomas Erzin is 17th, right on the back of these guys, with Pipo Rodriguez in his Division 1 debut, well, I should say this is return to Division 1 since Lebanon in 18th. Petzold is 19th, under pressure from Junt, with Niza in 21st, Matazowski 22nd, Anders Nielsen is 23rd, with Davy van der Venne 24th, and then Cardoso and Miravold, and then Lee Palmer is a lap down, and Emil Solberg is still running, but a couple of laps down.
Yeah, just to pick up that point about Florian Vojta, who currently sits in 16th position. Yeah, he was brought over by Florian Strauss, and now it's worth pointing out that Florian Strauss has also rejoined. Actually, he's made his comeback to the TPS with this series, but is in Division 2 at the moment. Obviously, he doesn't have enough championship points to get him into the top 30, so we can see him in Division 1. Obviously, Florian now has a huge fan base, so it's unfortunate we're not able to really see him in the day today, because obviously Florian Strauss, the GT Academy German winner for 2013. So it's great to see him back within the TPS. But meanwhile, we're riding on board Marius Gollenbeck, looking over the game pod wing at his teammate Tim Hyman as they go down into turn 10. Looks like Hyman's still keeping his distance. Meanwhile, the gap to Veit there is only 2.3 seconds. I think that was only 2.2 a few laps ago. So Veit is holding on, and Veit talking to him, he says his tire wear is pretty good here. So maybe he's just holding back that ice cold machine, waiting for that time to not make up the cut into that 2.3 second gap at the front.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was 2.4 seconds a couple of laps ago, I seem to remember. So Veit's actually closing in on these two, which goes against everything we've been saying throughout the whole broadcast. So it shows you how TPS can, it can spring up surprises throughout the whole season. But yeah, Heinemann really pressuring Gollenbeck now. Gollenbeck's pace has dropped slightly. He's done a 21.0 in that last lap, which is still incredibly fast, but it's nowhere near the 20.5s and 6s he was running earlier on. And Heinemann is really pushing on here for the Spade Racing. He's very close, and I think we could see a repeat of Legend in here, Danny, in which Heinemann pushes him so hard that eventually he just forces maybe a slight mistake out of Gollenbeck, or just gets a better run in him out of a corner and will eventually make the move. But of course, there's still a long way to go. We don't know how this is going to go. We are 10 laps into this one, and look at the run he's got here as Heinemann. He's going to look to the outside, which will become the inside into chicane, will he? Going around the right-hander, is he going to take it? No, he sticks in behind, so playing it safe at the moment, which is a tactic well used by Jesper Tolberg, sitting in behind the guy until he makes a slight mistake, not forcing any moves unnecessarily, and it seems to be running okay for these two guys at the front so far.
Yeah, very fair race between the two Spade Racing drivers here. Like I said, Hyman's really not forcing it. I mean, he needs to keep in mind that this gap to fight, it really isn't coming down, so there's really no reason to push this overtake. He's just waiting for this move to come back to him perfectly. Meanwhile, there is Jaco Goranch is falling down. I think we have a DNF from Jaco Goranch. Remember, the driver from Core Racing that just he blew his engine, John. Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
The last we saw this, it was at Monza, where obviously Spade Racing drivers, two of them, Hyman and I believe Fangman, blew their engine at the start of the event. So, wow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just saw him pop up with an engine failure, and it's not something that's difficult to do. It's definitely a possibility, but I'm not sure. He must maybe either change down a gear too many, or maybe just over-revving the car throughout the race, and it's caused a bit of engine damage, because it is possible to do, but as we say, it's not very common, especially when it's not off the start line. So it's a strange one, and really unfortunate for him, because he jumped up to 4th position at one point in the qualifying session. So he's definitely a man on form at the moment, and that's a real shame for Jaco Goranch that he's out of this race. But of course, he does have race 2 to redeem himself. And this battle continues in race 1. Veit has actually dropped back a little bit on this previous lap. Gollenbeck's done a 120.7, which isn't really possible for Veit to deal with that kind of pace throughout these races. And Gollenbeck's just done a 120.3 with no toe under race trim, which is only a 10th off the fastest time we saw throughout practice from Tim Heinemann. So that is an absolutely ridiculous lap from Gollenbeck, and that explains why Veit's dropping back. And it's not Veit that's dropping back, it is these guys that are pulling away, and Heinemann has managed to stick with him. So the race pace these guys are showing is unbelievable.
That's a bit odd, that lap time. I mean, before that, these guys were lapping, what, 21.1, I want to say? And all of a sudden, about 7/10ths quicker there, halfway through the race. We've got 19 laps on the board. This is being lap 12, so...
there goes Heinemann. Heinemann's looking to the outside there, and he does make the move stick. I think we're going to take a quick replay on board with Gollenbeck, because Gollenbeck, as you're about to see, he seemed like he made a bit of a mistake going into this left-hander, maybe pushing too hard. Hit the anti-cut, and then hit the other anti-cut on the outside, which put him on 2 wheels. There you go. And Heinemann said, "Thank you very much." And there was the mistake we talked about. Just like the Tolberg, his usual situation. Now Gollenbeck's bump drafting Heinemann down the straight. He is going to be furious with himself for that mistake, and is looking to capitalise on Heinemann being slightly slower there. Oh, he's getting sideways, but he's making the move down to the inside. A lunge down the inside from Gollenbeck. These guys it's good to see the two teammates actually having a good fun race, because that's what it's all about. And Heinemann maintains the lead, but a good effort there by Gollenbeck. Seems to duck out at the last possible moment. Lucky to avoid an incident between them, but he could not make the move stick. And we're seeing, Sasha Glatter's just got past Chris Hack as well. So I think Chris has actually made a mistake somewhere, because he's lost a lot of time to Glatter. see if we can take a quick replay of that, but no, he'd already lost the position by then. So yeah, some interesting things happening here. As you can see now, Tolberg's alongside Butcher for 7th. I should say Butcher's alongside Tolberg, and now he's looking down the inside. So obviously we've missed an instant. Oh, and then Tolberg's off the track.
Oh!
We obviously
Butcher
missed an
against
instant where
Tolberg.
Tolberg got past Butcher, but he's definitely not helped him in the long term, and that's Sergio Jr. up to 8th position, the man we were talking about earlier, and Tolberg's having a nightmare out there.
Wow, that's very odd that we're seeing. I mean, Butcher and Tolberg have a tremendous amount of respect for one another, and then to see contact from the two of the drivers. Obviously, these drivers, Tolberg being with THR as long as he has been, that's where these guys' relationship really developed. So very odd to see contact between those two guys there. But quick update from server 2, courtesy of Mike Bell, our pit lane reporter. We have Ross McGregor leading from Florian Strauss with Kel Stem back there in 3rd position. So just to update our viewers on that. Meanwhile, Chris Butcher is right on Sergio Jr. Sergio Jr. just creeped up inside, trying to even get the top 5 here. About 6 laps remaining, but Chris Butcher's one time make a run, going into turn 10, going through the kink to turn 9 here with Jasper Tolberg now closing in the slipstream. Is Tolberg going to have a look at this and know he's going to pull out of it? Just kind of stick his nose in there casually, that's what these guys thinking, but looks like Junior is going to hold on to that 10th position. Now Tolberg right on the back of Chris Butcher. Now I'm wondering how aggressive Tolberg's going to be, considering that there was contact kind of maybe initiated by Butcher on the previous lap. So Tolberg so far just sticks in behind Chris Butcher, doesn't do anything too silly here. It's just biding his time, waiting for the right moment to pounce on Chris Butcher for that 8th position. But so far, status quo here from 7th to 9th.
Yeah, so it seems to be Tolberg doing the opposite from usual, which is, of course, he's known for maybe doing a slightly underwhelming qualifying and then coming completely alive in the race and making his way up, but at the moment he seems to be dropping back, and of course we saw there was an instant with Butcher there that caused that, but look at that, he's a bit scrappy through there as well. There's 2 wheels on the anti cut, which is of course, as I found out earlier, easy to do, but still a man of Tolberg's calibre shouldn't be making those kind of mistakes, and he's paid the price so far in this race because he's down in the 9th position, whereas his teammates are up in 1st, 2nd and 4th. So yes, he's really struggling with that.
It's a bit of an oddity that both Hyman, Goldenbeck, and Gladder are all going quicker than Tolberg, when Tolberg's made his name by being usually the fastest driver on the second half of event, but looks like Tolberg's stuck in 9th position at the moment. As Chris Butcher having another look on Junior, he's got the overlap. He even was ahead going into his braking zone, but Junior...
Junior's gonna go way off. He left his braking way too late there, Danny. Oh, and he's made contact with Butcher on the exit as well.
Butcher's not going to like that he held the position by cutting the second part of that chicane, so certainly there was low contact from Butcher toward Junior. Let's see if now Tolberg's now looking to position himself. Yeah, is he on the inside?
Oh, we almost saw a repeat of what we saw a few laps ago, and Junior's off.
Wow, he lost it on his own there, looks like, John. I think he just got the car a little bit wildly coming out that exit of turn 1, and just, he did well to keep that thing out the there. It's extremely hard to save a spin there. So let's see what happens here. Junior goes into the first corner, solid entry, hits the curb there, just runs wide, hits the grass,
just
loses it. He did well, though, to keep that under control, John, I must say. Having driven this track a ton in Forza Motorsports, I know that sometimes that first corner combo can be quite a bit tricky. As
the contact again!
Oh, that's extremely hard to do around the outside of turn 6 like that, John. I don't think that ever was going to come off. Chris Butcher, I can't really blame him too much because you had to be on the inside there to really make an overtake stick, and I don't think that contact you can blame on Butcher, but Tolberg now going to have a look around the outside here through the long straight here. It's going to try and just outbrake Chris Butcher going to turn 10. It's going to be extremely hard to do. Tolberg on the brakes. He stays side by side with Butcher. Can he get it loaded into the corner? He's got that done. Only Jasper Tolberg, only the most winningest driver in TPS history, makes one of the scintillating overtakes here from this afternoon. Well done to Mr. Tolberg to go into 7th position.
Yeah, that was a beautiful move by Tolberg down the inside into the chicane, and Butcher just had no answer for it. And yeah, that's a stunning move from the most successful ever TPS driver, showing why there. And in this race, actually, he's struggling a bit because you know, he's managed to get back past Chris Butcher and Junior, who's down to 10th position after his mistake. But yeah, Tolberg's still down in 7th position, nowhere near his teammates. He's actually 8 seconds behind Chris Hack for Core Racing, I should say. And yeah, it's just a bit strange to see Tolberg struggling, and you know, I don't want to be, I'm not going to be down to him at all, because you know how competitive the field is, and no matter how high your caliber is, if you do the job, you deserve a lot of credit for doing that. I mean, we're giving, you know, the other guys that are up in that position, you know, like Chris Hack here in 6th, just as much credit for being there. But just because Jesper is a highly successful driver doesn't mean he should get less credit for being in the same kind of position, because he has the same job to do each time. So I don't want to be too harsh on him, but he is struggling here a bit today. Chris Hack in 6th position, as you can see. There's Diogo Silva in 5th. The championship leader, once again, Mr. Consistency here in 5th, and looking good at the moment. Tasha Glatter in 4th. He's of course nowhere in the championship after missing out on Lebanon, but he's showing that he's definitely, you know, he would have been a contender had he been there from the start and been able to maintain a championship challenge. Eric Tveit having a stunning event so far, only 3.4 seconds behind the front two. He's not going to catch them, but he's got a massive gap with only 2 laps to go in this race, so unless he makes a big mistake or has a disconnection, then he's looking good at the moment for 3rd position. And of course he's front two, and oh, Gollenbeck's had a big problem. Let's take a replay of that. We're going to be a bit far back, so let's fast forward it a little bit here. Gollenbeck's obviously had a major problem somewhere, and he's going to get sideways. And is he going to hit this curb? Yeah, he's going to hit the anti-cuts massively there, and oh, did well to save it. But that's a big mistake there from Gollenbeck.
Yeah, you know, he's obviously been struggling through the curbs in the S's the whole race. That's kind of how Hyman and his teammate got around him to begin with. And again, we almost see him lose it through the same section of the track. Tveit, we've only got a couple laps left on the board here, so I'm not sure if Tveit's got quite the pace to go catch going back for that 2nd position, but certainly that's something he's going to be looking to do. Another update from the server too. Sorry to report for the Florian Strauss Nation, so to speak. He is out of the race. He blew his engine, crashed out. Florian Strauss not going to get into Division 1 now anytime soon, I would assume, after that. So unfortunately, Florian Strauss out in Division 2. But again, we're here at Division 1. Road Atlanta. Tim Hyman got around his teammate quite a few laps ago, maybe 6 laps ago. Gollenbeck now in 2nd position with Tveit trailing in 3rd. And I do want to give kudos to Sasha Glatter and even Boyd Bryson here, who's kind of sneaked inside that top 10. He really made his hay when Chris Butcher and Tarver were going after one another. Got even very close to overtaking one of those drivers, but is now sitting here nice and firmly in inside the top 10. Though he's got Sergio Jr. Remember, Jr. Blipped in to that top 10, got up to 7th. Now he's right there in 10th position. Obviously, he made the mistake at turn 1. He desperately probably wants to claw back as many positions as possible. But just to round off my point about Glatter there, I mean, kudos to him, but he meanwhile jumped back off that, because we have Sergio Jr. having a look at Boyd Bryson going to turn 6. Now Junior had the right idea. You want to be on the inside of that corner. A lot of drivers have been trying this kind of kamikaze outside on turn 6 stuff. That's never going to work. Junior had the right idea to plant that car on the inside. Unfortunately for him that time, it didn't work out for the Blue Street driver. And now he's got about 3/10 now, or 4/10 to Boyd Bryson in front as they go into turn 10. But let me finally get this point out about Glatter, because I gave him a hard time there at the start. Oh wait, is this actually the final lap of the event? Yeah, we're going across the start-finish stripe now with Hyman. The round, actually this is Glatter. So let me finish with Glatter before we are interrupted again here. So I mean, Glatter, he's a driver, gave a hard time to begin this race, fell down from 3rd all the way to 7th, I believe, at one point. Has done extremely well to fight back through this field and now be in that 4th position. Certainly not a podium, but certainly a lot better than what like he was going to do. So Glatter, very well done to keep his head, keep collected, and now it looks like he's going to get out of here this first race with a decent result, John.
Yeah, and if you sit in these kind of positions, it's where you pick up, you know, your podiums. I mean, I found out last time out in the VSS that if you sit in 4th, someone in front can have problems on the last lap, and you can find yourself on the podium. Right. So it's it's about being in the position when it counts. And you know, of course, we don't expect a big mistake from Tveit and Gollenbeck. But if, for example, if Gollenbeck's incident earlier on, he could have flipped over those anti-cats, and now suddenly Sasha's looking at a podium. So, you know, it's about getting yourself into those positions to capitalise on mistakes. And if you're not doing that, the only way to win is to be right out there, being the best, being the fastest out there. So it's a great job.
Let's give Hyman his fair due as he crosses the stripe now to take his 3rd victory of the season. He won, obviously, the 2 races at Lebanon and now wins here.
Oh no!
And who is this?
It's Tveit!
You caught it, John. That's why you have to stay in 4th position. So it looks like Gladys going to pick up the pieces for that podium. But what happened to... What?
Oh, that's strange. And look, Tveit's still not finished.
He's stuck in the grass, Tveit.
I cannot believe this.
That car in the grass.
Oh, it's so unlucky, and it's exactly what we were talking about. Galater does pick up the podium in the end, but look at that, that's absolutely heartbreaking for Tveit. A man who hasn't finished many races, you know, and he's done a stunning job today, and he was the only man that could challenge the two Spade men, which is no mean feat whatsoever, and look how he's finished the race.
What in the world happened with that curb? I mean, we saw it, didn't look like it was extreme contact with the curb, but he must have hit that thing just so to launch his car off the track into the barriers. We saw that at Lebanon when he had an extreme crash from I believe inside the top 10, but we're not going to take away from this man right here. Tim Hyman wins the race for Spade Racing to round off the 1, 2, 3, the podium lockout for Spade Racing. The first time we've seen that from this outfit so far this season. Just tremendous, tremendous pace from start to finish from Hyman, going back, and Glatter. So Diogo Silva on 4th position, Chris Hack 5th, Jasper Tallberg gets 6th. Everyone is moving up a position thanks to Tveit there. I said Chris Butcher 7th position, who was provisionally your 2nd place man in the championship. Boyd Bryson done extremely well to get 8th, with Sergio Jr. 9th, rounding out your top 10. Fabio Asancao for Ghost Speed, 2 Ghost Speeds inside the top 10. Very well done for them. Matteo Orban, Optimum Sim Racing with Florian Voigt at Optimum to 11 and 12, so certainly very good job for them. Thomas Erzin for Core Racing in 13th, Kenneth Uriman for 14th, People Rodriguez, a nice return to Division 1, 15th position, Kevin Siggy, well done for Positive Sim Racing for 16th, David Young 17th, 18th, Santiago Nazar, another Positive Sim Racing driver, Heinz Petzold 19th, Anders Nilsson 20th, Davey Van der Veen 21st, Thomas Matisowski 22nd, Eric Tveit, such a disappointing 23rd position, Old Marius Miraval 25th, or 24th rather, Miguel Cardoso in 26th position, I believe, 25th rather, Emil Solberg 26th, Lee Palmer blew his engine 27th position, and also Joko Gornch, as we saw, blew his engine as well, finishes in 28th position. So John, wow, just unbelievable finish to that race there. I mean, what are your thoughts on that one?
I just can't get over that curb. It didn't, it should not have thrown him the way it did. And for it to happen to Eric, who's had so many issues recently. He's been disconnecting, here, there, and everywhere. He also, was running in this very strong 3rd position here, just behind the Spade guys. And of course, take nothing away from them. Stunning 1, 2, 3 from those guys. But Tveit, he just seemed to, I don't know what even happened with that curb. It didn't seem right the way the car glitched out there, but it was on the last corner under no pressure whatsoever, and he's thrown it in the wall and finished 23rd position. So words cannot describe. And it's just funny how we always go on about how anything can happen, and usually does in TouringProSeries. And also we were just like seconds before I'm talking about Sasha Glatter sitting in 4th, ready to pick up the podium from someone in front who has an issue, who of course wouldn't have an issue.
That was the commentator's curse of the century, John. I mean, I'm blaming that one on you, man. Okay, you
I apologize,
sleep tonight
Eric,
with that.
But yeah, so that was an incredibly exciting race one, and we'll continue our conversation on it in just a minute and bring you live qualification and a race for the 2nd time here at Road Atlanta in just a few moments. So we're going to go take a quick break and see you in just a minute.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number 1 on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
Welcome back here just after that quick break. I'm about to get started with Q2 in about a minute and a half's time, but we're still trying to recover from that first race there. Obviously, Tim Hyman, Spade Racing, they laid down the gauntlet, but the big takeaway now, obviously, from that race is going to be Tveit's complete just mess up there. Absolute, I have no words really to describe how ridiculous that was from Tavite. Well, I'm hearing reports from people on the server that Tavite went over the anti-cut. The car hit the anti-cut, got propelled off the circuit quite spectacularly into the barrier. And my issue is, John, I mean, if you're in third position, he had no challenge from behind, who was Sasha Glatter at that point. I think he was about 3 seconds clear of Glatter. Why in the world are you cutting it that close? Honestly, I don't get it. I don't get it, John.
I know. I mean, so it wasn't 3 seconds clear. It was actually about 9 seconds clear from Sasha Glatter. So that makes it even worse. You know, he could have quite literally stuck it in 5th gear, or maybe just turned the engine off, gone for a cup of tea, and maybe pushed his car around just to be sure. And he finished in that 3rd position. So you know, it doesn't look like he was taking too much risk, but at the same time, you should be taking no risk at all in that situation. He should be driving, you know, braking very early into every corner, not using as much steering lock, putting the power down nearly as much. You know, even if it costs him half a second to a second in one corner, you need to finish the race, and that's what he's not managed to do here. So you know, you could say, oh well, the curb was a bit glitchy there. It seemed to throw him up more than it should have, but that's not the point. You know, he shouldn't have been near that curb in the first place, and that's what's so frustrating, because he just cannot finish races at the moment. I mean, he's shown it to be so many times in TPS, you know, one of the fastest drivers out there, and he just cannot get the results sometimes, and it's really frustrating for him, I'm sure, and for all of us spectators alike. But just before we jump back into the second race, and also I should mention, definitely very well done and well-deserved victories for Spade Racing. A brilliant 1-2-3, just because, of course, we don't want to take away anything from them with that incident at the end. So just to give credit where credit's due there. And Chris Hack as well, and Diogo Silva also doing stunning jobs in that race. So yeah, kudos to them. But let's take a look at the up-and-coming events in Touring Pro Series. Next up, we have the Virtual Mini Challenge from Velo Park, which will be round 4, coverage by myself and Scott Woodwis for that one. So that should be an exciting event. And then coming up a week, Wednesday I believe, is the next round of the Virtual Touring Masters, after our interesting race at Cleveland Park, the bumpy, wide airport track, providing another victory for Robert Wiesenmuller. Rob Taplin also getting on the podium for that one, followed by Matt Richards. So a lot of informed drivers there in cars that seem to be suiting them, but the momentum could shift very easily at the next round at Hockenheim, where, you know, some of the bigger engine cars like the M3, or the M1 I should say, will definitely be the favourites there. So, you know, Tavite's maybe, you know, got his mind focused on winning that one, and seems to be nowhere in this, although he just doesn't seem to be able to keep it together for the full race. But as I say, we will jump back into the game in just a second. So yeah, we are now beginning the qualifying session. So Danny, is your money on Tim Heinemann for this one, or do you think Gollenbeck's got it?
It's really hard to go against Hyman, the form he's shown. He's got 3 in a row so far. Obviously the 2 at Atlanta, and now today here at Road Atlanta. I think Gollenbeck is, obviously they're right there, 1A, 1B on pace, but the way, the form, that the confidence that Hyman has to have right now, it's kind of hard to go against him. Before the time starts showing up here, I do want to give a slight update of Server 2, just to kind of so our viewers know how that all resulted there today. In first position, we have Ross McGregor. Second, Shel Stenbeck for Optimum Sim Racing. Luca Pecklash for Core Racing. Kevin Enderman 4th. And rounding out your top 5 was Franz Lopez for Positive Sim Racing. So just so our viewers would know how that all turned out. Remember, Florian Strauss obviously tragically crashed out the event, blew his engine. So everyone's obviously unfortunate to see. I mean, I would love to see Florian back in Division 1. I know he did kind of such a comeback in Thomas Gold Clio Series. Was actually very good at the end of that championship. Almost challenged for some wins too. So obviously a lot of people are pulling for Mr. Florian Strauss. But here we are, Marius Gollenbeck. I believe this lap is for the money. It counts. Going through turn 10. Now finishing up the chicane. Going over the hill here. Seeing the Touring Pro Series banner. Now going finishing off the lap through 11 and 12. Let's see what Gollenbeck can come up with as he crosses the start-finish stripe. And you know what? That was just an outline.
I was going to mention it, but I thought I'd just let you give a brilliant commentary the last few corners. That's a lot going anyway. So let's jump on board with his teammate Tim Heinemann, who's just started a lap as Pedro Rodriguez goes pole. Let's do an on-board lap here. So Heinemann coming through the S's now, down through turn 4. This is turn 4, and with all these are turns, but they're not really registered as numbers on this circuit because there's so many of them. These are just known as the S's. This is turn 5, the left-hander down to 3rd gear. Keep the momentum running, don't hit those anti-cuts, and he's done reasonably well, but it wasn't too clean there. He's still 4/10 up in the first sector, so not perfect, but not bad from Heinemann. Get slowed down just after the markers appear on the road, get turned in nicely, get the power down in third gear, flick it down to second, and make sure you get a good exit. Heinemann runs a bit wide, but maybe that's a better line through there, I'm not quite sure. Gets power down nicely on the curb and straight up to third gear, and you've got this massive blast down the back stretch. This is just coming up to turn 9 now, and turn 9 isn't really a turn, it's a flat out kink, you could say, but it's just such a long straight. You're maxing out in 6th gear. You need to be careful not to hit the rev limiter in 5th, because these cars have a tendency to do it without actually showing you it's going to hit the rev limiter, so you can lose time there. Get breakdown just after the markings on the track, down to 3rd gear, and keep the momentum rolling through the chicane. Get 2 wheels out in the curve without running too wide. You need to be right in and tight over the crest, run as wide as possible, and then you're flat out through here for the final corner, and that's going to be Heinemann's first hot lap, and it's not a good one. A 1:21.6, and of course he has a lot of time and room for improvement there on that, but at the top of the time sheet at the moment is Chris Butcher.
Yeah, not really sure where this came from, because Butcher, remember, the best he could do in Q1 was a 20.9, and that's during the latter half of the session. So far, right off the bat, Butcher seems to be on pace with what he could do through the week of testing with that 20.8. So, but even we're seeing Tveit quicker. Sergio Jr. is quicker through Sector 2 even. Jr.'s got a chance to take a provisional pole position. Oh no, there's the Sector 2 marker, and he is half a second off what Butcher's able to do. Golenbeck is quicker, and he's off again, John. What is going on with Spadia? These guys, maybe they got to come down off that high that they had through race 1. Gladder now, so far sitting provisionally 5th, is quickest through Sector 1. A lot of people going purple through Butcher Sector 1. That seems to be where you can make up the time. But Tveit is quicker through Sector 2. If we can pick right on board with him as Junior pops in at 6th position. Silver 4th. Here's Tveit. He was quicker through Sector 2 by about half a tenth of a second. Let's see what Tveit's got. Pole position, 20.7. Very well done from the Ice Cold Racing, man.
Yeah, nice lap there from Eric Tveit. A lot of guys were going purple there. It was really difficult to keep track. Chris Hack at some point popped up to 3rd position, which he'll be happy with. He's got his banker lap in of a 1:21.1, which is not too bad at all. Jesper Tolberg's just popped up to 3rd on a 1:21.0, so he'll be looking to go quicker than that, but that's a good banker lap in. Sasha Glatter takes the pole position on a 1:20.7, but you don't forget these times are 4/10 off what we saw in qualifying 1, so expect the the names to change a lot at the top of the timesheets. Pipo Rodriguez pops up to 8th position in his return to Division 1, so well done to him for GT Competizione. Eric Tveit is on a very good lap, but he's somehow in the pit lane, so that's
only
interesting drifting through the pit lane there from Tveit. Beautiful driving.
Tim Heinemann going quickest through Sector 1. Like I said, Gladys, he's definitely shown put up a much better benchmark through that first sector than Butcher was able to do. But even still, he's only about a tenth up on Butcher's overall time at a 1:20.8. But let's see if Heinemann can now really get into the what we would expect to be the pole times of a 1:20.5, 1:20.4, or perhaps a 1:20.3. Usually, actually, times go quicker in Q2. I know Heinemann was able to go quickest. I throw one of his quickest laps of the week at Lebanon, but so far only a 2,000 of a second down on his teammates' time so far. So hasn't been able to really work out the pace in this car. About 4 minutes left to go in this quality session. We'll see what Heinemann has as he crosses the start-finish stripe here, as he gets bumped down to 8th, but he goes first. Very well done from Heinemann, just barely at a 1:20.6. So certainly, pole position is wide open at this point, John. You got to assume if somebody can just find a way to get a 1:20.4 on there, they've got a chance to start in the front row.
Yeah, and it's the same top 8 names we're seeing here. We're seeing Heinemann, Gollenbeck, Glatter, Tveit, and then the 5th to 8th are the same as well, with Silva, Butcher, Hack, and Tolberg, albeit in a slightly different order. But yeah, it's interesting to see the consistency of these guys. They're not as quick on the lap times, but look at that. Speaking of quick, look at Gollenbeck's sector. Was that sector 1?
Yes, but he looks like he got
been ruined.
Whoa.
I'm not sure how to call it. I think that was Miraval. I'd say that because of the pink car, but I'm not sure if whose fault that was. If Miraval was on a good lap, or it was, I'm not quite sure how to call that one. I might take a quick replay.
Here's the thing: obviously the car behind has no idea that he's got a potential pole man behind him. Really, he doesn't. I mean, obviously Gollenbeck is second, but like I said, Miraval's probably is on a lap right there in his own right. Has every right to kind of hold his line. I mean, you don't know that Gollenbeck is on a special lap at that point. Has a chance to take pole position, and obviously Gollenbeck's going to be absolutely just annoyed by that. But really, nothing Miraval could do. Hopefully, with about 2.5 minutes left on the board, Gullenbeck can still find a way to get a lap together here.
Heineman's just on a 20.4 with a slipstream from Miravold, but yeah, as I say, I have to pin the blame on that one on Gullenbeck, because Miravold's doing what he has to do to qualify, but it's Gullenbeck's, he's the one who has to, make the space to complete the hot lap, so it's not, it's a bit of a shame that Miravold got his lap screwed up there, but nothing could be done there. Gullenbeck, sorry, just being a bit too aggressive, trying to get his good first sector and put it to use. But yeah, Heineman's improved to a 20.4, so there's a lot of work to be done by Gullenbeck. The two of them together on track, and Heineman did have a bit of traffic there through sector 1 from Miravold, but Gullenbeck's had a clean one and he's a 10th up, so this is a great lap so far from Marius Gullenbeck, the man who led a majority of race 1 before making a slight mistake, being passed and then dropped back a little bit after another mistake. Chris Hack's purple through sector 2, Danny, and he's going to have a slipstream from the GT Competizione, man.
Oh wow!
Which one that is? If we can just do that there, so he's going to have a big draft. Could this be pole position for Chris Hack? Oh, he goes up to second. Great effort.
And he's gonna be very happy with that. Wow, 4
Look at this.
What?
This is ridiculous from Gullenbeck. If he can make this lap stick, we could see a very, very low 20 here. He's going to come around the final sector. He's not going to be as quick as Heineman in the last sector because Heineman had a big draft, but this could still be a very low 20, and he does take the pole position. Stunning lap from Gullenbeck.
Yeah, it seems like Heineman's sector 2 is pretty weak there, because obviously we saw Hack also go quicker through the sector 2. That 20.3, that's very good. I mean, it's going to be hard to see that being beat with a minute left, but we have seen a 20.2 only from Tim Heineman. I think he's the only guy really capable of taking down that time set by his teammate Marius Gullenbeck. So far, Tveit in 5th position, started on 4th last time, so pretty much equal what he was able to do last time out in Q1. Let's see if Tveit can improve. I'm not so sure he's going to be able to. He doesn't. He stays 5th position. Going down the field, just looking through some of the names here, nothing too surprising, I would say. Everyone's able to kind of do what I suppose they would expect out of this one. Lennon, I think he had some connection problems. He actually joined the session a little later than most drivers, so maybe something's going wrong with in the Leno camp there. So not really sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one because he is, of course, a TPS winner and a very competitive driver. So a bit further down than you would expect there. But anyway, Sergio Jr. has just popped up to 8th position. A man who's very impressive in race 1. Managed to drive his way through the field when others were dropping back. Managed to get from about 11th to 7th, passing the likes of Tolberg and Butcher. And then unfortunately made a bit of a driver's error, has to be said, as you see another car spinning down the front stretch there. But Sergio Jr. continues on. He's 5/10ths down to the first sector, so this lap isn't going to be anything special. Tolberg pops up to only 8th, and the timer's actually run out, so that could have been Tolberg's last lap. I'm not sure when the timer ran out if he crossed the line. I'm not sure if you know, Danny.
I believe this, he'll be able to finish this lap, but Tolberg has been having trouble with that, just ringing the pace out of this Porsche. I mean, he's got a race win so far this year, but it seems like with this mod as opposed to with these cars as opposed to other ones, John, it seems like Tolberg hasn't been able to have such an advantage with his tire preservation skills. It seems like these cars are fairly quick through the majority of a race run, and Tolberg is having trouble kind of making up the positions from like 8th on backwards and whatnot. That's really what he's been known to do. I mean, Tolberg doesn't really matter where he qualifies because he's such a good racer. He can get inside that podium when all things are said and done. With these cars, though, he's having a lot of trouble with that. Boyd Bryce, remember, Boyd, I believe, there we go.
Nice lot.
That is absolute clutch shot from Boyd there. I was just about to point out that he qualified, I want to say 12th or 13th for Q1, but he was sitting 16th before that. Now inside the top 10, so Boyd now has a really good chance to make hay inside that top 10. I believe he's finished. He's, like I said, he's 8th overall in the championship standing, so he's certainly going to be happy with that P10 to start the race.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a lap from nowhere there from the core racing driver, and he'll be delighted to be in the top 10. He's behind Sergio Jr., who starts 9th on a 20.9. That's a good lap from him. Jesper Tolberg will be starting 8th with Chris Butcher 7th, but we'll take you through a full rundown here. So just very quickly, Marius Gullenbeck will be starting on pole position for Spade Racing ahead of his, looks like more consistent and possibly quicker teammate so far, Tim Heineman. Although saying that, Gullenbeck had stunning race pace last time out. Chris Hack picks up his almighty 3rd position on the grid for core racing, albeit 3/10ths off the Spade guys in front. Sasha Glatter rounds at the top 4, with Eric Tveit 5th position, hopefully managed to finish this race, with Diogo Silva, still our championship leader, in 6th place for GT Competizione. Chris Butcher is 7th ahead of Jesper Tolberg, and Sergio Jr. for Go Speed picks up 9th. Boyd Bryson, as we said, will be starting in 10th. Moving a bit further down the grid, we have Emil Solberg, who didn't finish the last one, is starting in 11th, or he did finish, I should say, but he was 2 laps down. Pipo Rodriguez in 12th on his return. Joko Gorenc, I should say, is in 13th for Core Racing, with David Junt 14th. Florian Voita will be starting 15th, once again inside the top 16, with Fabio Asencal picking up the final spot there. Heinz Petzold is starting in 17th, with Miguel Cardoso in 18th. Anders Nielsen, a slightly more impressive 19th. Matti Orban, his Optimum teammate, rounds out row 10. Then we have Thomas Erzin for Core Racing in 21st. Omarius Murvold in 22nd, after getting involved in a few incidents there with the Spade Racing guys. Santiago Niza for Positive in 23rd, ahead of his teammate Kevin Siggy, with Kenneth Uhrman, slightly underwhelming 25th, with Gary Lennon 26th, David van der Venne for Aerostream in 27th, and Thomas Matazowski 28th on a 122.7, and rounding off our field is Lee Palmer for Ice Cold in 29th. So just before we jump into the race, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with live action from race 2, round 3 of the Virtual Carrera Cup 2014.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number 1 on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
And we are back here with a couple of minutes left in warm-up before the second race here at Road Atlanta. And just before we go into it, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, GamePod, for all the work they do and the big prizes they're providing across the board in TouringProSeries. They have done in the past and they continue to do so now. So definitely go head over to GamePod's website on their Facebook page, give them a like, and you can see what fantastic offers and products they have for sale. And speaking of GamePod, I'm actually sitting in my new GamePod right now. So you know, I'm proving that they're definitely something to look at, and they're very good rigs, and I'm loving it so far. Another sponsor, of course, Inside Sim Racing, who provide our forums, who you saw an advert for there just a minute ago. Definitely check out Inside Sim Racing for news and reviews since 2007, as they say. But we should definitely go head back into the game now. Actually, before I head back into the game, just a quick memory update in case you forget what any drivers look like. That is the Provisional Championship standings before race 1, and that is the different liveries of each driver, just so you can remind yourself what each car is looking like in case you're unfamiliar with some of them. But yeah, Danny, predictions for this one, and I think I can probably predict what you're going to say.
Well, you know what? I've kind of changed it up a little bit. Okay, I know Hyman is kind of the easy pick, but I'm actually going to go Gollenbeck here. Okay, and the reasons why I feel like Gollenbeck is a bit fired up after that quali session. Now, behind the scenes here, obviously maybe the drivers sometimes they chat in the server or what have you. We caught the incident live during the broadcast here when obviously Omarius Murvold kind of holds up Gollenbeck during this quali session. Well, Gollenbeck didn't appreciate that so much, okay? And let his feelings be known toward Murvold, like kind of what was going on there. What was he thinking? Because what we didn't know, John, is that Murvold actually messed up his first sector there, okay, and continued to go on his hot lap and not let Gollenbeck through. Now, to be honest with you here, John, I completely understand where Gollenbeck is coming from in this situation, okay? Obviously, he's going for a pole position, and to see kind of one of the slower guys hold you up that way, it can be quite a bit frustrating. So I can understand kind of what Gollenbeck is going through in that regard. And it's because of all of that, and this is kind of going on behind the scenes, obviously, I think that's going to motivate Gollenbeck to just, smash the field, even really go after his teammate, Tim Heineman. I think Gollenbeck, remember, we saw a guy take a race win. This is the driver we saw take the race 2 win at Monza. I think he's fired up and motivated to get the job done here in this race 2 at Road Atlanta, John.
Yeah, it's quite funny because when I said I think I know who you're going to say, it was actually Gollenbeck I was thinking of, because I thought it's good to go against, and Gollenbeck showed his race pace in the first race. He showed his quali pace in both sessions, and okay, if it wasn't for a couple of mistakes, he could have beaten Tim there. And I thought you might mix it up a little bit and go for Gollenbeck. So that's interesting. But I am going to go with Heinemann simply on the basis that he's done it the last 3 events. He's shown it, he's proven it, and. I mean, I can't call this one. It's the two of them are both looking very competitive here today. They both have similar pace, and as you say, Gollenbeck's going to be pretty fired up after that. But that could have a positive effect. You know, some drivers maybe spurred on by their anger and push even harder, drive even better, and some drivers the pressure will get to them, and they'll end up throwing it in a wall. So let's wait and see. Cough cough, Eric Devite. If anything like that will happen again. Chris Hack has managed to rejoin the server. He did leave during the warm-up session to sort something out, but he's back in, which is good to see, and starting on the second row. Let's see what he can do. Will he be the man that mixes it up with the Spade guys in this race? Of course, he was saying he doesn't quite have the race pace of those guys, but even so, just getting his car up there is going to be a big feat if he can.
I want to highlight Chris Hack, Sergio Jr., and Boyd Bryson. I want to see what these guys can do. Obviously, I think Hack has a chance to now finish on podium. He's starting on podium. But can Junior now make it up inside that top 5? Can Boyd Bryson make a run inside the top 5? Those are the drivers I really want to put the spotlight on. I'll be curious to see how they finish. Along with obviously Gollenbeck, can he hold on to this race one? But I also do want to point out that the race we saw in race 1 was very clean stuff. Everyone was very respectful with one another. We saw a few kind of odd moves, oddball moves, if I can get my words out there. But overall, I thought it was very clean stuff from the drivers. Hopefully, I think the league is incredibly more mature as composed to round 1 at Monza. But at the same time, a lot of nerves are really fried during the first round of big leagues like this. But it was very calm, very collected in that first race. Hopefully, we can see more of the same kind of orderly racing here in race 2.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if Tim Heinemann doesn't have motion sickness right now. Looking at him warming his tyres there, that's definitely producing some heat, which is obviously going to advantage him in the first couple of laps, because having driven these cars, it's very difficult to get grip early on in these races, so heating up the tyres could be a key factor there. So it could work into Tim's advantage, actually, being that aggressive on the formation lap, because in these cars, on the cold tyres, they're so difficult to control. I remember spinning out the pit lane on numerous occasions when I was giving this track a run through, so it's definitely something to be careful, and these guys have actually managed to get their grid spots correct this time without needing to reverse, by the looks of things. So that's better this time round. But let's right on board. We'll actually go on board with Chris Hack for the start, so you can see the lights and the 2 guys in front of him, so we can get maybe a better perspective of how the starts are. But we're just waiting for the guys at the back of the grid to line up here for the final time at Road Atlanta. It's the first time TPS have been here, probably not the last, and the first race showed us how good a track this can be for racing. Who will be the victor here in race 2? Will it be Heinemann? Will it be Gollenbeck? Or maybe they will crash into each other and explode and it could be someone else. So let's wait and see. I don't think in genuine race pace anyone else has got it to match them. Let's wait and see. We've got 4 red lights. We're about to go racing here. The green light comes on and it's slightly slower getting away from Hack. The 2 guys off the front row have made a great start there. And it looks like Hack's under serious pressure there for 3rd, but Gollenbeck gets it out in front of Heinemann. Does a good start from him. Tvite's looking up for 3rd position, and he has got it, but is he going to run wide? Manages to keep it all together. Sasha Glatter in 4th, with Chris Butcher actually making a move there for the same position. Chris Hack's dropped all the way down to 6th, so disappointing start for him.
Massive crash
7th and Silva 8th.
Massive crashing behind. Siggy involved. I believe one of the THR drivers, and David Yutt was involved. A lot of drivers are caught out by a big start line incident. Hopefully, guys will be able to carry on, but so far it didn't look good there on the replay. You're seeing cars in the grass there. Fortunately, we can't get the most detailed replay from you. Who is that? The Core Racing driver. Let me see if I can just check that. Heinz Petzold, I believe.
Yeah, it's Petzold, and also Gary Lennon's now out the race as well.
Yeah, very unfortunate there at the start. But meanwhile, Gollenbeck holds position from Hyman. Tvite continues another super start from the I-Score Racing driver in the 3rd position. Chris Butcher right in behind in 4th. But looks like Hyman doesn't want to wait this time. Gollenbeck led half the race last time. Hyman wants to take it right out the chute. Let's see if Gollenbeck can hold it on the brakes before turn 10. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it, John. That thing looks like it's stuck from Hyman. He is a man on the mission, trying to go from 4 from Heinemann. He's into the lead very early on, only the first lap. So looks like Gollenbeck's going to have a fair amount of work cut out for him if he wants to get around his teammate and make a statement by winning his 2nd race of the season.
He's going for it now. I think by what we've seen so far in this race, I think this could be an incredibly exciting one between these 2 guys. They're both fired up, both needing a win. Heinemann needing to maintain his run and maintain his scary momentum, and Golombek looking to redeem himself after a slightly scrappy he's had a couple of second places recently, and he also had a few mistakes at Lebanon. So it's all about these two guys, and it's almost a replay of race 1 with Tveit just in there in third, just a second or two back at the start of the race. But he's going to run really wide. He's going to hit the anti-cut there, not for the first time. Golombek's having a look down the inside. Will he make a move here into turn 6? It's a sharp 90-degree right-hander, but Heinemann's managed to maintain the position so far. As you see them going through there, he's going to run a little bit wide, but no worries there. Through turn 7, get the power down nice and early, and it is Heinemann leading Golombek second. Tveit right up there with the front two guys in third position, and it looks like a carbon copy of race 1, but of course he won't be hoping for a carbon copy of race 1. But yeah, it's a great start from him, and he's brought the ice cold car up to third position. Glatter is already 3 seconds down in fourth, so his challenge for the front two positions has already completely disappeared, and Chris Butcher is putting him under pressure. So Glatter seems to struggle at the start of these races, and we're seeing it now. He's going to spin. As I was saying how he struggles at the start of the races, look what he goes and does. Oh, don't reverse like that. And slightly dangerous rejoin, manages to avoid contact and picks up in 15th position, but it just looked like a bit of a driver's error there from Sasha. Let's see, he goes into the chicane. I think he's just going to be in the cold tyres, turns in too sharply too soon, loses the back, very lucky not to collect Butcher. And then very dodgy rejoin there, almost taking out Sergio Jr., but manages to keep himself out of trouble. And just as I was saying, Glatter seems to be struggling at the start of these races. There he goes again, and he's definitely not going to pick up a podium in this one.
Yeah, now you pointed this out during the warm-up. We saw Heinemann extremely kind of warm his tires up just to try to avoid those cold tires at the start of these stints here. We're seeing that, I guess that was the issue during the first race for Glatter, is that he just couldn't deal with those warm tires, those cold tires. Meanwhile, Rodriguez taking a big spike through the field. I'm not sure what happened there, or Santiago Niza it was, I think, that fell through the field along with Rodriguez. Huge damage for Rodriguez. I think he's almost even lost the wheel of that GT Competizione car. And what happened here?
Oh, this looks like a big crash we're about to see here. Sergio Jr.'s had a massive crash. Oh my goodness. That is a crazy crash. Pipo Rodriguez, he's definitely going to be out of the race after that one, surely. And I think it was Sergio Jr., I believe. Just going to take another quick replay.
Yeah, he even lost the wheel, I think Rodriguez did in that one. As Tveit sets the fastest lap, just gets on the curb. He just went. He had no chance. I think it was Junior. It was just in the middle of the track.
Massive.
That's very unfortunate for Rodriguez.
And we pick up Rodriguez just as he crashes across there and hits the wall. So lovely parking there, but that's a real shame for him.
I feel so sorry for Rodriguez. He scrapped like all heck to get back in Division 1. I give him massive props for that, but at the same time, you see him trying to get back in the pit lane. He really wants to finish this race, to collect points, to stay in Division 1 to help out his teammate, Diogo Silva. Unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case for Pipo, as that car is completely thrashed. But this fight with Golombek and Heinemann, and the fact that Tveit is very quick at the start of these stints, has allowed this to be maybe a 3-car battle for the lead. Tveit's going to be incredibly motivated, considering how he ended race 1, to now try and redeem himself, as it were. Meanwhile, Golombek, you can just tell he wants this one so bad, wants to stamp his authority on this championship, and he's got to run on Heinemann. Can he make this move stick? Hasn't been able to really make a move on Heinemann during the races so far this year, and he thinks better. I'm not sure.
Oh, there goes Tveit down the inside. That's an aggressive move, and he makes contact, he pushes Golombek across the grass. Golombek rejoins in third. I'm not quite sure how to call that one, to be honest, Danny, because it looked like Tveit did have a right to be there. Golombek didn't give him any space, or maybe Tveit ran a bit deep in there. He's done a 20.5 nonetheless, so Tveit's definitely looking racy, and there's managed to be a split here between the two Spade guys, but I really can't call that one. It was either Tveit ran in too fast and hit Golombek off, or Golombek didn't give Tveit any room.
Yeah, remember, Golombek was originally on the inside line there, just lost out in the braking, and then I guess that created for a funky entrance into the corner, and that's where the contact kind of originated there. But certainly the steward's going to have maybe a look at that. Certainly no one comes out of that too bad. And there is Golombek again through the S's.
Same
He's just really struggling with that car. Yeah, those curves really unsettle that car, and Golombek has not been able to deal with it too well so far in his races. Meanwhile, Tveit, that's going to give him purchase now to break that slipstream of Golombek. So now he can now get the gap he needs to maybe just make this a Heinemann Tveit affair.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Golombek's not dropped too far back, so But I think, to be honest, Heinemann is going to check out at this point. Tveit, he did have the pace to keep up with him, but that was only when they were battling each other to the bone. So now that they're split up, I think Heinemann will just be checking out, and the battle will come from Tveit and Golombek. Of course, Golombek won't be too happy, no matter if it was his fault or not. In a racing situation, I know a driver, no matter what happens, can see something differently as he's racing than what he does in a replay. And you probably know the same feeling, Danny. You know, when you see an incident, you think, oh, I did nothing wrong there, and you look at it, and you think, oh, crikey, I've just caused, you know, a massive crash. But you know, it could be a situation like this where, no matter whose fault it was, we're not quite sure how to call it. It looked like a bit of a racing incident, but you know, Golombek's going to be fired up here. He's going to be angry because he's made big contact with Eric Tveit. Tveit's got the position, and he's not backed off at all. He's kept the position, and now Golombek, especially after, you know, leading off from pole position and having a great start, he's making mistakes, and I think he's going to be angry with this one. Let's see how this pans out, but it could be a very exciting battle.
Tveit's going to have to watch himself, because like you just pointed out, Golombek's not going to be too thrilled about that contact in the previous lap. He's going to try to get around Tveit whenever he can. And yep, there's a little
there you go. There it is.
Wide, and Golombek's going to take the inside. He says, thank you very much. You know, you were rough with me. I'm going to be rough right back with you.
Oh, so not so fast though, because Eric Tveit's coming back down the inside. These two basically having a conversation in their driving here. And just as we were saying, it's a very intriguing battle, and you can see it right here. They're going side by side down the fastest section on the track, you know, flat out at the top end of 6th gear. Tveit's going to have the inside for this little right-hand kink, but of course the left-hand hairpin, or chicane I should say, is coming up here. Golombek's got the inside line, but we have seen contact between the two. Tveit inevitably runs wide. I did see that coming, and I was about to say it. He does run wide and loses the position, and Golombek did nothing wrong at all there, and holds on to 2nd place. So maybe Tveit just trying to, you know, brake later than Golombek in a last-ditch attempt to stay in front, and it clearly didn't work for him.
Yeah, I think clearly Tveit just caught. Well, Tveit did roll in a 20.5 a few laps ago, but I do think he caught. He goes wide there.
Oh, that's going to cost him a lot.
He's got one under the wall there. Saves it, gets back going again. He's going to hold 3rd position. He's got about 4 seconds to Chris Butcher, who's in 4th right now. So Tveit can kind of settle in. Doesn't need to really go for too much. I don't quite think he's as quick as these Spade racing cars in front right now. Obviously, Spade racing just needs to be on a different level. Tveit is off again.
Oh, he's lost his composure. You see, he's had cold tires over the grass. He's lost a bit of his way, especially after that mistake earlier. You know, not capitalizing on his chance for a top 2, and he's making mistakes.
Yes, certainly he's going to have to get down to control as we're riding on board Chris Butcher with Jasper Tarby. These guys were scrapping with one another in the first race. Once again, they are line astern here in the second race. Meanwhile, in behind these guys, Diogo Silva, I think, started in front of both of these drivers. Now down to 6th position. Certainly, he's going to try to make up those positions before the race ends. Emil Stallberg has sneaked inside the top 10 to the 7th position with Boyd Bryson. Remember, Boyd's quality 10th up to 8th, so very well done from him. But we're watching this battle between Stallberg and Butcher from the hood there of Diogo Silva's car. Meanwhile,
look at that time.
Fastest lap of the race, 20.3, just quality pace there. Golombek, maybe he doesn't want to let Hyman check out so quick as it was. Hyman, 20.7, so Golombek took about 3-4 tenths out of his teammate in that lap alone, so certainly maybe there is going to be a fight for this lead even still. So meanwhile, Tarver continues to hammer Chris Butcher here. Can he find a way to get around that THR machine? Obviously, Chris Butcher is the only THR car inside the top 10. Toby Davis, we haven't really mentioned this, out for this race today. He's not out the championship, but just couldn't make it here today. Him and Strana, the two main contenders that we are without here at Road Atlanta. But regardless, Chris Butcher trying to hold on and fly the THR colors inside that top 5.
Yeah, Tolberg's just not had the pace of his teammates today. He's still obviously had very good pace to be running in the top 5 and challenging Chris Butcher, which he's doing now. As you can see, he gets underneath the game pod wing. He's now down the inside of the THR yellow driver. Can he make it stick? We're going to see heading into the chicane here. But yeah, Tolberg not had the pace of Heinemann or Golombek here. And he'll be looking for a damage limitation at the moment in terms of championship points. But I don't think he's really in the championship battle at the moment unless he can improve his outright speed. And Butcher, great job to maintain the position there. Held the outside line around the right-hander, and that of course meant he was on the inside of the chicane and got nicely tucked in front of the Iceman, who's still sitting in 5th position waiting for his opportunity. But a change of position a bit further down, but I think that was just Orban passing Mervold. Just quickly looking down the field.
We lost Glatter. Glatter is out of the race. A DNF for Glatter. Not really sure what happened. I think he made a slight mistake, maybe outside. Coming out of turn 8, it might have been, but Glatter out the race. The first retirement for Spade Racing. it just happened there. It's going to promote half the field because I believe he was running in 12th position before that mistake there. Now this is going back here, who's actually continuing to close the gap there to Hyman in the lead there. Silva's got around. What's happening to Butcher here? Maybe we can pull this back because Silva's around Butcher and so is Jasper Tallberg. But looks like a replay. Here we go. Maybe a mistake there from Chris.
We're not going to catch much of it, but I think he's hit the anti-cat and made a mistake, and that's allowed Diogo Silva and Jesper Tallberg through. I think Silva was running in 4th, so it was obviously Silva's lost the time in the first place. But then
Butcher was 4th. Butcher was 4th.
Okay, sorry, yeah,
Silva was 6th.
Oh yeah, Silva was 6th. Sorry, so Silva's made up time, and then Butcher's made a uncharacteristic mistake over the anti-cats, and that's cost him there the position. So he's down to now 6th position. Diogo Silva in 5th, and Tallberg's checked out in 4th.
Now remember, these guys were your championship leaders going into this round, both Silva and Butcher. The thing is, though, they've got a growing problem with both Hyman and Golenbeck, the way those guys are performing right now. If things continue down this manner, then obviously both Hyman and Golenbeck will overtake Butcher and Silva in the championship standings. That actually might be the case coming out of this round here today. So Silva and Butcher have to go to the drawing board and find a way to get more pace. If they can't contend with Hyman and Golenbeck, who are obviously the guys at the front of this field, then soon Silva and Butcher, despite their consistency, are going to fall out this championship mix. So it's definitely something they're going to have to watch. And look at Golenbeck. This gap is now about 0.7 of a second. It was up to a 1.7. So Golenbeck has taken a second out of his teammate with only 3 laps, really. So I called it before the race started. Golenbeck is a man on a mission right now. You can just see him. That car is just angry. You can see he really wants this race win, and he's not going to let even his teammate take it away from him. And this is going to be something that's going to continue to develop with about 9 laps to go here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, Heinemann's jumped out the plane, and Golenbeck's managed to get hold of his parachute here because he's absolutely, closing the gap to Heinemann here. And Heinemann, who we thought had checked out, the gap is now down to 0.5 of a second. Wow. And that's even with Heinemann on a 20.7, which means Golenbeck must be lapping an incredible pace at the moment. And we did say Heinemann had checked out, but we also know how fired up Golenbeck will be for this one. And the gap, I was watching it over the last couple of laps, it's just been consistently decreasing, I should say. It's not as if it was one big mistake from Heinemann or one good lap from Golenbeck. It's been consistently coming down from 2 seconds down, half a second. And Heinemann, you can see how hard he's pushing there. He's throwing up dust at almost every single opportunity there. Just avoids the anti-cat, so he's clearly feeling the pressure here, Danny.
Yeah, this is going to be something we want to have to track throughout the race. But if we could pick up with the battle between 15th and 16th, we actually have this is Silva against Silva got around Jasper Tallberg, but here we have, this is just about David Young against Old Maris Miracle. This has kind of been a rivalry so far. We saw this kind of pick up at Lebanon, and these guys continue to go at one another. I know Young just got around Miracle for this 15th position, but I think Miracle is looking very sporty there in behind in 16th as they're pulling in, I believe that's Matthew Orban for Optimum Sim Racing. So this is going to be we're only a few laps from this being really, I guess, a 3-car battle here for this 14th position. So definitely something also we'll keep an eye on as Silva and Tallberg continue to fight with Chris Butcher in behind. And there's Silva.
Nice.
He's through on Tallberg. Wow, what an overtake there from Diogo Silva in that GT Competizione machine.
Yeah, and the man who's leading the championship doesn't want to give up on it quite yet. And Butcher must be thinking, what does he have to do? He's got Golenbeck and Heinemann travelling so quickly and winning these races and picking up more points. So it's not just a problem for Butcher dropping points to the guys behind him. It's the guy in front of him that's the problem for him at the moment, Diogo Silva. And those two seem to be unattachable on track. They seem to be detachable, I should say. I'm completely mixing up my words. I don't even know what I'm trying to say there, but they seem to be together in every single race we've seen. And I thought there was a big crash there, but a big bit of lag from these guys. But yeah, it just seems like Butcher and Silva cannot be separated. Their pace seems to be similar, their racecraft similar in every single race. But Silva seems to be just getting the upper hand on Butcher each time out. So great job from him to be doing that. But unfortunately for those guys, it seems to be a battle of the best of the rest at the moment, with the front two being the way they are, and Tveit showing a great pace here as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to match. Here again, Golenbeck continues to cut this gap. He's just made a 1.7 second gap to his teammate in the space of no more than 4 or 5 laps. I mean, I'm wondering what's going through Hyman's head right now, thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to keep this guy behind me. I mean, do you try to defend this position? I mean, is Hyman just kind of reserving his pace?
Oh, it's pace.
I mean, John, what's your mentality as a driver? Your teammates obviously were going back. Going back is your team boss, as it were. Do you fight for this position? I mean, you've won 3 in a row. I'm not sure if you can just let this go. I mean, you're obviously going to try to continue the streak if you're Hyman, or I mean, do you sit here and fight this thing with Golenbeck? Because I mean, clearly Golenbeck is just on an absolute charge right now.
Yeah, I think Heineman's going to defend as cleanly as he possibly can, but it's out of his hands because Golenbeck is a man with the red mist, descending on him incredibly. I've never seen this before. A guy like Heineman, who's shown how alien, like he is at sim racing, how quick he can be. For Golenbeck to be doing that, closing in that kind of gap to a driver such as Tim Heineman is just unheard of. And he's clearly absolutely fired up here. Heineman's still laughing, to 120.6. That's qualifying pace that Heineman's doing.
Yeah,
let alone Golenbeck, who's in second place, who's put together a string of pole position laps, and he's now looking down the inside of Tim Heineman, heading into the chicane. And Heineman is going to defend, but of course it's not going to be down to him in the end. It's going to be down to Golenbeck whether he can get past. And I don't think Heineman's in a very comfortable position right now. He wants the win. He also wants a job in that team after this race. He doesn't want to be fired, so he needs to be careful with how he goes about this. They've got 5 laps left. Golenbeck's got the pace. Golenbeck's also got the time. And it looks like, Danny, your prediction could be coming true here, despite Golenbeck making all those mistakes. And of course, that has to be the Achilles heel here. Golenbeck's not been the most consistent, and he has made a few mistakes in the same places on consecutive laps. So let's wait and see how this one pans out, but it's shaping up for an incredible end here.
Yeah, the question is going to be how he makes out through these S's. We've seen so many wobbles through him, and he can actually have a sneaky. Is he close enough? I don't think he's close enough to have a look here and going to turn 6, but certainly he's going to set this up for the long straightaway. Obviously, going into turn 10, that's where he can get this move done. Can he get a good run here out of turn 7? Looks like Hyman on the grass a little bit. After go sideways, now can Golenbeck get in the toe? This is all. He needs to really make a lot of ground before halfway through this straight, before they even get really to turn 9. The right-hander coming up just over the hill here. I'm not sure if he's close enough. There's that car lunging in. Can he have a look here? No, he thinks better of it. Slots in behind. We have a lap. A bit of traffic coming up here in the distance. They'll probably be on that driver for about a lap and a half away from that now. So can Golenbeck now have a look? I mean, turn 1 is a really hard place to make an overtake. We've seen, I think, Chris Butcher and Tarver ran into some trouble here. Does Golenbeck have a look up the inside? He does not. He's being very respectful, very methodical about this one, John. He really just want to wait to the right position. And he's got some damage there we're seeing. On the game power wing, Golenbeck has caved in that front nose that seemingly has made his car faster, if anything, because the Heineman is just not getting away from this car.
Yeah, we had a spinner there, back marker span there. Heineman seems to have a very erratic line through that sector. It seems to work for him though. As you can see, he pulled out a slight gap on Golenbeck despite him, Marius, having the slipstream. So Heineman does have a ragged line, but yeah, Golenbeck, slightly damaged car, probably due to the contact to Eric Tebite, and Porsche will be wishing they were watching this broadcast because they'll see, oh, if we put a dent in the front of our car, we could make it a couple of tenths a lap quicker. So maybe they could take some aerodynamic advice from us here.
Silver's running into some huge trouble. He's lost his the front part of his car. He is falling down the field like a stone here. This is a huge play in the championship. Silver was riding 6th position, just got overtaken by Tallberg and Butcher, and now he's in incredible. Oh no! Did he hit the anti-cut?
He's done it to Vite. I think he's done it to Vite.
He did it to the fight. He's into the barrier, coming off the second part of that chicane in turn 10. And that car is absolutely thrashed at this point. He's limping it around the track, but you've got to assume at this point he's got to take that into the pits. Might finish probably outside the top 20. I mean, Silva, absolute gutted. That's gotta kill him with that one. Only 3 laps to go. Was on for 6th position to help him at least stem the bleeding in his championship campaign. But right now, we've got to assume that coming out of this one, Heineman or Golenbeck, probably Heineman, considering he's in front of Golenbeck, is going